Okay, let's move on. We're going to talk, as Matt hinted at earlier, we're going to talk about another old franchise that is, we think, in development. We'll find out. Rumors have been swirling for a couple weeks now that there is a Silent Hill reboot in the works. About a week ago, Konami went on the record and said that's hogwash. That is absolutely not happening.
They said that long ago.
Yeah, well, they just did it again, actually.
Did it again? Because the first time they denied it was like we were still doing stuff in the studio.
Yep.
Like they've been denying this for a long time, and I have been saying sure for a long time. You may have noticed.
Yep. And so this week, a generally reliable source of Japanese game information said, no, I'm right. It's coming. Not only is it coming, it's being developed by Sony's Tokyo studio. So it's an in-house first-party game. And they brought back the original director from the first game, and Akira Yamaoka is creating the soundtrack for the game. I mean, that is Silent Hill fans' wet dream right there. It's the trifecta. You have the power of Sony first party developing it, and then you have the creative people that you would want to be on the project helming the project. So if these rumors are true, this is some big, big news. Matt, what do you think the probability is that this is true, knowing Konami very, very well?
100%.
Yeah.
I am completely sure, and have been for a very long time, that this is a real thing. So, yeah, take that for what it's worth.
What do you want, though, from a reboot of Silent Hill?
I mean, that's a good question.
I was gathering B-roll for this, and Downpour, I watched a bunch of footage for Downpour, and I was just like, this is not Silent Hill, basically. No.
Here's I don't know. Like, it may be too late. Like, Silent Hill may just be those first 3 games and a whole bunch of garbage piled on top of it, and that's the end of it. Like, I don't know if you can really recapture that lightning in the bottle, even with those original creatives on it and with the power. You'd hope that Sony would be able to kind of be in there. It's like, all right, make something good. Like, because Konami being in charge, I'm sure, is part of the problem of why they just want something that they can slap the Silent Hill name on and make it look like Silent Hill. And by the time you buy it and realize, oh wait, this is crap, it's too late. They got your money. So with this, I probably a better chance of it being something good because of who's steering the ship. But like, I don't know, like Silent Hill, like, also I have very little patience with like horror games these days. Like, I just find them tedious most of the time. Silent Hill might be the thing that would be, if you do it right, that would like really be able to pull me back into something like that. But again, I don't even know what you do anymore with that, because I still think 2 is the best, and you can never really do 2 again, because one of the reasons 2 is interesting is because it was is a complete shift.
Right.
I think 2 is the most interesting and the best because it was not related to the cult storyline that 1 and 3 deal with, which is good, but like the cult is not as interesting as the town. And Silent Hill 2 sort of taking the town premise. That's why it's called
Silent Hill.
Right. Silent Hill taking the town premise and being like, okay, well, we told this cult story in the first game, but in this game, we're just going to have some other unrelated dude with horrible backstory problems come into this town. We're going to see what this town does in response to him, or what it does to him once it's lured him in, one or the other. And I remember when that came out, and I thought that, and I also did a bunch of interview stuff for that game. I did, that was the first like real like interviews I produced were all Silent Hill 2 things and that kind of thing. I learned
started off with a bang, Kyle.
Yeah, I learned how to produce interview segments on that game basically with Takayoshi Sato and all those guys from Konami. And the experience was positive, but like one of the things they talked about was like how shifting off and sort of making the series more about almost an anthology of like people that come to this town was a much more interesting idea to me than going back to the Harry story with the cult story with Silent Hill 3, although that was a very good game. I really like a game. I gave it a 5 out of 5 when I reviewed it. But the most interesting take on Silent Hill is like taking different people and putting them in this pressure cooker of a crazy town and seeing what comes out psychologically. And they've tried to do that in subsequent games, like Downpour was like that, and Homecoming was like that, and it just never worked again. So I don't know what this is going to be. If it's going to be a full remake of the first Silent Hill, like that would be fine with me more or less. Is it going to be a new take on things? I don't know. Rebirth, the rumored title is Silent Hill Rebirth. That could mean just about anything. I'm interested to see what they come up with. I'm interested to see what it looks like.
I mean, are you kind of pointing to the fact that rebooting the first game is the right call?
Maybe. I mean, certainly.
It is very crude. I mean, that's part of its charm as well, is that how blocky the character models are and how muddy the visuals are.
Yeah.
I think
and also remember that
at
the time it was almost, it was very impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, the fog was hiding the fact that the draw distance was about 10 feet. But,
literally like 10 feet.
But the fact that you were playing a Resident Evil style horror game where the camera could move was
a big deal.
Revolutionary. Like the fact that the camera could like fly around and tilt through the alleys with you and stuff was, that was like what I wanted all that time. I hate static camera pre-rendered background stuff and always have. And so the fact that it freed the camera up to really be part of the cinematic experience was great. And then Silent Hill 2 is just the pinnacle of all that stuff. If a remake of Silent Hill 1 gets me a remake of Silent Hill 2, yes, go ahead and do that. But like beyond that, like I don't know. Like I don't know if those games work in today's market. Does anyone care? Like if there's no open world and facial capture motorcycle riding, does anyone bother? Like I don't know. I'll almost certainly play it.
I think it'll be a big story regardless. There's a lot of people who have never played a good Silent Hill game because they started playing games like after the good ones came out. Mitch, even if they played the HD collection, you still haven't played a good one because those were terrible. Mitch, what Silent Hill games have you played?
I played the first one. I still have the original version on PS1.
So you have played them then?
I have played them. And Matt, to answer your question, they had said it was a soft reboot. So it sounds like they could be just going back to Silent Hill with the new character, and then
that could mean it could mean anything. Like I said, it could mean anything.
It could, and I think playing with the town would be. I think the appealing thing for me with Silent Hill is the actual town itself, and having that town transform between dimensions. I think is the most interesting part about that series. So I think as long as they go back to the town as a start, if they're rebooting it, that's what you need to do. And I think always centering the character around one person and another small group of cast is really important as well. And I think as long as they have those elements and then they have all the other fog and all that kind of stuff, they got it. Like that's all.
Why wouldn't Konami do this? It's a no-brainer. All you're doing with Silent Hill right now is releasing pachinko machines. Why not sign a deal where you get royalties and the game's going to turn out great? You know it is. It's a first-party Sony game. It's only going to help your IP. So if you decide after PlayStation makes this one game, sign the deal for one game. And if the IP suddenly explodes, then the IP that you can still make games for is suddenly far more valuable. So I can't see any reason why Konami would not do this unless it, in fact, has a Silent Hill game under development internally, which I would be shocked if that were the case. I mean, we saw what they did with Metal Gear. So I'm hoping Konami learned its lesson. It's like, you know what? Some of these IPs probably better if somebody else tackled these than us because they just don't have they don't have the staff to make games like this anymore. So
and they clearly don't have any interest in staffing up to do that.
Yeah, it's a no. To me, it's a no-brainer for both sides. It makes too much sense. Let's be honest. Silent Hill is a PlayStation IP. Everybody associates Silent Hill with PlayStation. It was one of the big horror games for the PlayStation 1, and then I think it was exclusive up until 4. Is that right?
Silent Hill 2 had an Xbox version.
Oh, that's right.
Restless Dreams, but it was not great. Like there was some weird tech problems there.
I would argue Resident Evil is more of an exclusive to PlayStation because it had the first 3 games.
Yeah, all on the same system.
Yep.
There was a huge controversy and screaming on the internet when Code Veronica was a Dreamcast game.
Oh yeah. Oh, people lost it. It was a huge deal. I mean,
they're like, Resident Evil fans are like, I gotta buy a Dreamcast to play Resident Evil now. It's like,
it's just like when Final Fantasy left Nintendo for PlayStation 1.
Or
same
Tomb Raider went to Xbox. That was a big issue.
Or Sonic goes everywhere. You can go on and on. Hey, JM Ray 99 and Sound Wizard are going at it again with free subs. Thank you guys. Thanks for giving subs to a bunch of our people in the chat. That is awesome. Thank you very much. Any closing comments on a Silent Hill reboot from either of you?
I mean, I guess bring it on. Like,
Yeah.
I'm glad to see anything Konami related survive. And maybe if this does well, you can do Silent Hill 2, and maybe Sony could look at the Castlevania franchise.
Yeah.
Give that the God of War treatment at some point.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Imagine if this does crack the door open for something like that, where PlayStation does a first-party take on Castlevania.
Yeah.
That'd be huge.
And I think the one thing that makes me feel confident about this is not only it's a first party for Sony, also Studio Japan, or the studio working on it, has worked on so many different kind of games, and they never really missed. Like, they've done Unfinished Swan, they worked on The Last Guardian a bit with Team Ico, they've done Bloodborne, they've done many different kinds of games and haven't seemed to falter. So with that track record, along with the people working on it, I'm confident they could do it.
I would say this, though. I would say that studio is on the lower end of Sony's first-party stable of studios. Then I think PlayStation knows that, because it typically gives that studio a lot of times like these small projects. They did a lot of stuff for PlayStation VR. They've worked on the Ape Escape franchise, which has never been a mainstream franchise.
Well, how many of these guys are like also from the Siren team?
That's true. Like, you don't know. Yeah, who knows? I mean, it could be a completely different team. They could have just completely rehired. We don't really know. So the bottom line is PlayStation will not release a first-party game until it's really, really good. And that's really all I need to worry about. So it's a match made in heaven. It's a perfect combo, and hopefully it ends up being true, and we get to play a good Silent Hill here in the next year or two. That's the other thing, too. It probably is at least a couple years away. So don't get too excited about it. There's a long wait coming, I imagine.